Imagine launching a new baseball card brand into the heart of the junk wax era in 1988. That seems like a recipe for bankruptcy. So this is the surprising story of Score. In the 1970s, the Kellogg Company released a set of baseball cards that featured 75 of the best players at the time. They included them in boxes of cornflakes, and the cards were made by a company called Optigraphics that made them appear three-dimensional. This was a relatively novel concept at the time, and Kellogg's often released new 3D sets periodically until 1983. After producing 3D cards for Kellogg's, Optigraphics first released a set of their own nationally distributed baseball cards called Sportflix in 1986. They specialized in the multiple image trading cards using lenticular printing, and the company had licenses with several major sports including Major League Baseball, the NFL, hockey, and NASCAR. 2 years later, recognizing the potential in the baseball card market, Optigraphics rebranded as Pinnacle Brands and launched the Score baseball card brand in 1988. The brand changed baseball card industry from the big three of Topps, Donruss, and Fleer that had been in place for 7 years prior. Score was the first major set to have a color photo of a player on the back, and also with the first card since 1982 Fleer to have a full color back. Also, the player biographies were by far the most extensive of any Major League Baseball card set at the time. Some of the things that Score did to break the mold of baseball cards was the colorful borders. So each set of 660 cards contained 110 cards with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple borders, making them very colorful. Compare the backs of these 1988 Score cards to the 1988 Topps cards, and it's night and day difference in terms of the appearance and the quality. Also in 1988, Score launched Score Glossy cards as well. A UV coating was placed on top of their typical cards to protect them and make them look a little bit better. 1989 Score cards, this is where I recently did a video on my Ken Griffey Jr. collection. These cards look very high quality to me. I actually love the look of the cards. The only thing is the design of them in the terms of the appearance is a little bit just average. I feel like the baseball diamond at the bottom of the card did make it look a little bit cheaper. However, the 1989 Score Masters card is super premium and has a great appearance to it. So what I like about this is how the front of the card is purely the photo of the player. There's no other text. There's nothing else going on there. And when you flip over the card to the back of the Score Masters card looks super premium, has that sort of handwritten Ken Griffey Jr. I almost expected this to be serial numbered because it looks so cool. And when you look at it, I believe this set might actually be the same game of photography. You can see the background and even the player in the on deck box here. It looks like these are two different photos taken in the same at bat in the same swing, just at different times. And then the card on the right for the Score Masters was turned into something of an illustration to make it look a little more premium. It's a good looking card. In 1989, Score also introduced a 100 baseball card set highlighting the top and upcoming major leaguers called Score Young Superstars. They also did the same thing with another set called Score Rising Stars. So each card had a full color photograph of the player in action with this thin green border around it. I can't say I'm too crazy for the diamond, how they capitalized the letter of the player's first name. The front of the card, again, the design to me says it's a little cheap, but for sure the back of the card I feel like is on par with Upper Deck at the time. Now, perhaps the most famous Score set for baseball of all time came in 1990. This included Frank Thomas's rookie card, but also the famous black and white Bo Jackson two-way player, Bo knows baseball, football type of baseball card. 1991 Score is most known for its 900 card set. And so I've got a couple cards here. You can see the front and the back, continuing the tradition of really long biographies, full color photos of the player on the back. But now the sets are just ballooning from 660 cards to 900. The 1992 set now has 910 cards. This is actually the peak of sort of Score's size of their sets. So you can see, again, some pretty good looking cards. The design's just okay, but the quality of the cards, the printing and the images still look very good. In 1992, Pinnacle created its own set of Pinnacle cards as a high-end set to go right after the Upper Deck cards that were very premium at the time. In a recent interview that I just read through, the CEO said he really liked the Score baseball cards, but it had a sort of reputation for being overproduced and a little bit more cheaper brand at the time. And he didn't think he could take Score and break into the premium market and compete with Upper Deck. So he wanted to create his own brand, which was Pinnacle. And I do remember these cards. I remember collecting them. They look really awesome with the full black cards with bright colors on them and everything. I really, really like this year Pinnacle cards. In 1993, another set was introduced called Select, which was sort of a tier in between Score and Pinnacle, kind of a mid-tier product that they were trying to offer here as well. Pretty decent looking cards, but I can't say that I recall buying or seeing too many Score Selects when I was a kid. In 1993, the Score cards with their white borders came back down to 660 card sets, and also led by one of the more famous scorecards probably of all time is this 1993 Score Derek Jeter rookie card. In 1994, Sportflix came back as Sportflix 2000. It's the first time since 1990 that the Sportflix cards were being produced. But this would also be the last year to be branded under Sportflix. Pinnacle would rebrand its own Sportflix with an X for baseball and football sets in 95 and 96 before abandoning these lenticular cards altogether. And I've got the A-Rod card here. I really like the concept. And as a kid, I remember liking these cards a lot more. But I recently purchased a whole bunch of them. And I will say that the quality of the images through the lenticular printing are not very good. They're always a little blurry. In 1994, Score brought back the black border set for their base cards. They were also pretty cutting edge, I think, in terms of things like they do have their, to go after like a Topps Gold, they had their Gold Rush cards, which was this gold foil around the cards. And then on the back, they put a little Gold Rush embossing on them as well. In 1995, Score note that they changed the logo in the top right corner to this like cursive S, which I don't like at all. I understand that the original Score logo might have looked cheap, but I feel like it has more heritage and more pop than this one. But Score, for its short period of time, was always on top of parallel sets, and this is no different. I really like this 1995 Score Platinum Team Short Print Ken Griffey Jr. card with a sparkle hollow foil, which was a really rare card you could collect for the Mariners, and in person it just looks really amazing and pops. 1996, Score had the white borders again with their cursive Score logo. They still have the full color photo on the back and the full biography, but they also had other parallel cards like the Score dugout cards here pictured on the right hand side. 1996 is also notable because Pinnacle Brands, the parent company of Score, also acquired Donruss and Leaf brands, as well as their baseball and hockey licenses for only about $41 million, which to me seems like a good deal. Pinnacle would use the Donruss and Leaf brands to make baseball, football, and hockey cards. In 1997, Score, you'll notice one change here. We don't always see the full color photo on the back. And then with Pinnacle Brands, they also started to randomly insert printing plates that were hand-signed by Pinnacle's CEO, Jerry Meyer, with 8 plates per card. So they would have plates for the front and back of the card in each of the printing colors that they had, which was black, cyan, magenta, and yellow. And these were very common chase cards in the industry at the time. In 1998, which is actually going to be the last year of Score cards, I like the look of these cards and the colors. I still don't like the Score logo, but it's pretty cool with the way that they brought in all the different themes and colors of Barry Bonds' San Francisco Giants here. They still had the 1998 printing plates, however, they were not signed by their CEO. And as times kind of got desperate, in 1998 and around this time, Panini Brands and Score Pinnacle baseball cards really began experimenting with how they could sell cards, like in these kind of tennis ball can looking things here on the left, as well as tin plate containers, which I remember from the Donruss product, Donruss Preferred as well, as they tried to find ways to just boost sales and get people more interested in purchasing cards. However, in 1998, Pinnacle Brands had to file for bankruptcy, which was really a significant moment in the baseball card industry. Pinnacle had been a major player for about 10 years now and had really innovative products. However, the 1998 financial difficulties led to their collapse, and they ceased operations in September of 1998. I recently read through an interview with Jerry Meyer, the CEO at the time, and he and his team of executives spent hundreds of hours planning for the future of Pinnacle Brands, Score, and the future of their trading card company, and ultimately they decided that they were ready to exit the industry altogether. To them, it was clear that the writing was on the wall, that the Major League Baseball Players Association license fees were getting out of control and being much more expensive. And then kids also no longer looked to trading cards for pictures of players and stats as they could get them on the internet. And there became this, what they called a gambling element to collecting cards, which is these chase cards in general led people to buy packs, not because they wanted any of the base cards, but specifically to find these $100, multi-$100 inserts, hoping they were lucky and hit the lottery and find these valuable insert cards and sell them back. So, citing low profits, they went out of business in September of 1998. Its brands and trademarks were sold off to Playoff, which became Donruss Playoff. The new company did not use Pinnacle brand name, but did continue to use Score name on low-end football cards and hockey sets produced mainly for retail markets. They would later be acquired by Panini Group, so Playoff Brands folded into Panini. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there's no doubt the Score's biggest lasting impact to the market was through their football cards, with the four most viable Score cards being this 1989 Score Barry Sanders rookie card. A PSA 10 will fetch about $1,300. The 1990 Score supplemental Emmitt Smith card, fetching about $1,300 as well. 89 Score Deion Sanders for $600 in a PSA 10, and the 1989 Score Troy Aikman at $500. So these are the most valuable Score brand cards that I could find. Score football made, I think, an even bigger impact for collectors than the baseball cards, but obviously by 1998, baseball cards from Score were no longer. This has been a video of Sports Cards Edge. Please give us a like and subscribe, and our goal is to give you an edge in helping make money with sports cards. We'll see you next time.